Hello everybody. I'd like to show you guys another way that this tool can be used. So this is LJ Stats and Effects tutorial 2. Here's how you can set up an exploding barrel. Now let's go take a look at what we're going to create. As you can see, there's a bunch of exploding barrels. Trigger explode. They catch on fire. The fire spreads to the rest when they blow up. Creates a very nice chain reaction. Now of course you can configure this however you want. I know the graphics look bad, but you know, this is just a demonstration of how the system works. We're just going to go ahead and ignore this bug here. Let's find this barrel, for example. So the way these barrels are set up is they each have a local stat handler with the data destructible scene object. Now this is an object I just created, similar to how we created the NPC or the zombie in the last one. So what I do is LJ stats stat set, add the stat sets, the stats that you want. So, well, first thing I did, I created a stat called burnt, maximum value 100, default 0, and I used the same stat of health before. Now, unlike an NPC, a destructible scene object does not need any sort of personality. It doesn't need to be infected, doesn't need any of that. So we only added health and burnt. So that works for our purposes. Next step, I created a prefab for a flaming listener. So the thing is, in this system, you don't have to just manually create it every time. You can just create an effect change listener and then reuse that between all your objects. So all your objects that are on fire, let's say you want them to have a similar appearance, similar action, then you can put the listener into a prefab and then just drag and drop it onto what you want to be affected by that. So, of course, as you can see, on fire and flaming. Now, we didn't actually talk about this. So all that I had to do was create this on fire stat effect. What does this do? It reduces the health, keeps it up, doesn't multiply it. It adds to the burnt stat, and it does this every 0.3 seconds, and it's of type flaming. And now the flaming thing, of course, you can just create that with a right click like the other one. This one we call on fire. Let's say we want to create another one. Go LJ stats and then stat effect. You might not be able to see it due to my recording software, but we can just name this whatever. We can call this electrical fire. And then similar to fire, we can have it be of type flaming. Is continuous 0.3, and then but let's say we want this one to affect joy as well, negative 99 joy. I don't know, something like that. So you can basically create these effects like that and drag and drop them wherever you want. Now let's go back to our exploding barrel. So as we can see, we have this stat handler, but how do we know when to explode? So what I did, I created a listener. This one's called burnt listener. It's similar to the flaming listener, except it listens for stat, not an effect. The stat is burnt, which as we can see, it's a child of the barrel. So the local stat handler here, when it's created, it creates the stat burnt as something it has. And then this goes up to that, subscribes to this event, and then listens for it. Once it receives the event, it pushes it into this, which then does the stat response. So as we can see, we have this progressive responder set up to respond to different values. So when the stat is about 80% done, then the color of the object will turn black. However, I actually want to reduce this a little bit. I think maybe 0.5, just to make it more obvious. And then after it's burnt for a little bit, it's going to trigger an explosion only at 0.9. So we don't want this explosion to last too long. And then after that, we're going to go right until 0.9 until 1. We set the or I guess at 1 we set the object to be inactive. So once it's fully burnt, we disable the barrel. Now, as we can see, this explosion object. Let's take a look at the particles, if it'll let me. Okay, it doesn't matter. But so this one has a trigger. it has an apply stat effect on trigger enter, which is on fire. So this is how the object burns the other objects nearby. It also adds a force with this explosion script. That's just a little demo script. And yeah, that's basically how it works. This one starts disabled because we don't want to be applying a fire effect when there's no explosion. Oh, you know what? That reminds me. We could add another interesting effect. I have an idea. What if we wanted to set fire just by touching a fire, right? Like, it doesn't have to just be an explosion. How about we set fire just by touching a fire? So what we're going to do, go into here, create a new child, fire applier. This one will be a little radius. How about a sphere? Now this one's similar to the other one. Let's just go about 1.2 is trigger, apply stat effect on trigger enter, and we'll do on fire. So now objects that touch the fire are also going to be on fire, so this should create some interesting dynamic gameplay. Let's see how that changes. So first things first, we're going to spawn in our thing. Let's see. Oh, they're on fire already. I wonder why. Wow, that was fast. Now I don't quite understand why that happened. I must have enabled an explosion somewhere. Let's see. Oh, right. Fire applier. Okay, so this one, we need to start this one as inactive. That's right. There we go. Okay, so what we're going to do is just add, see how easy it is to start this. So we're just going to enable it once the fire is activated. Before then, we're going to keep it disabled. Yes, leave it as disabled at the start. See, that is beautiful. Very easy to fix and correct bugs in this system. It is not going to take too long. It's simple like that, and now it should work as expected. So now our little barrel is going to be very nice. Now we can trigger an explosion, catch a few on fire. Now the fire will spread. It's going to start blowing things up. The barrels burn, and all of this you can set up in an extremely short time. So as you can see, I created this exploding barrel, which can now be used anywhere in the game. Anything that applies a fire effect will successfully blow up the barrel. Anything that burns it, you can just plop this anywhere. So that's really what the point of LJ Stats and Effects package is. You can just do really quick and easy gameplay systems like this. Like, it doesn't necessarily have to be an NPC, as we demonstrated in the previous scenario with the zombies, but you can also use it for, like, let's say right here, barrels. You can use it for food, for animals. There's so many options that you can use for this, and I think it's a great tool. If you like it, please check it out on the Unity Asset Store, and have a good day.